We know that Apple Intelligence has been slower than everybody wants. Guys, everybody's been watching this space with Apple. When is Apple going to come out with the great stuff? They had that great demo. I don't remember when it was, Jaden, a few months ago, where we're like, finally, it's all here. And it's going to be on the new iPhone 16. And then that kind of came out. Everybody's like, well, it's not really here yet. And then they're like, no, we're integrating this. And listen, now we are seeing this story about Apple having to kind of claw back a little bit, like we've seen with some of these big models, because things are going a little bit off the rails. Jaden, you and I were talking about this offline, and I want to talk to you about this. Listen, first of all, because we get slammed, right, Jaden? Guys, we use Apple for like my MacBook, my iPhone. We
Yeah,
love
yeah.
Apple products. Come on, let's get real, Jaden.
Yeah, so I think that's 100% true. We both are big Apple fans, but I just gotta be honest with you guys. The rollout of Apple has been a little bit, or of AI has been a little bit funny. So in the latest kind of flub for Apple, they have their AI notification summaries. Now, I've seen a lot of really funny things with these notification summaries. People have. I'll even share if you're looking at the screen. I remember when these things first came out, there was a guy that said, for anyone who's wondering what an Apple Intelligence summary of a breakup text looks like, and he did a screenshot of it's pretty ruthless, but it's Apple Intelligence summarizing his text that he got, which says, "No longer in a relationship, wants belongings from the apartment." And he replied, by the way, I can't show you the actual tweet because it's deleted, but luckily someone screenshotted this. It is about on a bunch of news places, so it's legit. But he said, yes, this was real. Yes, this happened yesterday. Yes, it was my birthday. Okay, anyways. This people were sharing a whole bunch of things like this, which were kind of, I mean, I want to say funny, but obviously like poor Nick, shout out to him.
Yeah.
Sexy got dumped or whatever. But like it seems like kind of like harsh, right? It's like these Apple Intelligence summaries, they seem kind of harsh. Okay, so these were funny and like pretty accurate, so like you can't complain too much. What's happened recently is that Apple has done some inaccurate summaries, and we're having some major people complain. So a lot of this kind of got spurred from a big one by the BBC, where someone was screenshotting the fact that the BBC had some article about Luigi Manguan, the guy that assassinated the healthcare executive. But when Apple Intelligence did the summary for this, it said Luigi shoots himself, and then blah blah blah, a bunch of other things. And the BBC's like, Apple, what the heck? Like where did this come from? And somehow when Apple Intelligence was reading through the article, they decided that the guy had shot himself instead of shooting the executive. And people are just really confused, like where the heck this even came from. And so Apple, this is like the big one because it's like a big news company is like, questioning them over it. So they're clawing back and they're like, we're going to get to the bottom of what exactly is going on. So I guess it just goes to the broader question, Connor. Like Apple has always been known as this company that really gets things right the first time, and it definitely seems like they're trying to push hard to get this AI stuff out fast. And like, have we seen many instances where Apple's had to claw back technology and be like, "Wait a second, guys, it's not quite ready. We'll bring it back in a minute."
So the first thing that jumped to my mind wasn't a clawback, but it was Apple Maps. And so think about this. Like, remember when we had everybody had Google Maps on their phone, and everybody's like, "Oh, but Apple Maps is coming. Apple Maps is coming." This may, if you guys remember this, then you really remember it, right? Because Google Maps was revolutionary from MapQuest and everything else. It was just way, way better. And then everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, a native thing already on your Apple. Apple's going to knock this out of the park." And I think they rolled it out too fast because instantly, guys, all it takes is a few bad screenshots. This is a lesson. I'm at the business school at NYU. Reputational risk is everything. And so all of a sudden, Apple had driving, it was like driving people into lakes and things like that. And it was just crazy. And by the way, I don't think Apple Maps ever really recovered from that. Do you know what I mean? Like people went back to Google Maps because it took them months to sort of like really recover this. It would have been way better for them to just slow that down. So on that case, I think that was a huge missed opportunity for Apple and Maps. I mean, think about how much revenue Maps can drive, especially with sponsored things and stuff like that. So I think we have seen that with Apple. However, what Apple seems to have been doing, I'm going to put right in air quotes, is that it felt like they were like holding back. Oh, when they're coming. But remember this with Google Gemini too, Jaden, where it's like, oh, when Gemini comes, whatever this is before Gemini existed. Like, when that comes, it's going to be amazing, multimodal. And then it came, and it's good. But when we talk about using AI, everybody uses the term ChatGPT. Hey, are you using ChatGPT? In the same way when you use a search engine, you use, hey, do you Google that? All that kind of stuff. Those things early on really, really matter. And so I'm not sure I've seen Apple claw something back, but I'm definitely seeing similarities between when Google released their image generator that was supposed to be outstanding, and then it created probably sort of like overly diverse, historically inaccurate, diverse
Right.
images of certain things. So my fear around this with Apple is how long are you going to wait? Now, but the other thing that I'm not worried about is that Apple is in a standalone category. You can say all you want that OpenAI is coming for Google, that Microsoft stuff is coming for this, everybody's coming for each other. But who is competing with the iPhone? Apple has everybody's devices and everybody's MacBooks outside of people who are on PCs, of course. They have this huge competitive advantage. Just don't screw it up. That's all I ask.
So what I think is interesting here is, we're getting iOS 18.3, iPad OS 18.3, Mac OS Sequoia 15.3. All of these are disabling the notification summaries. And, these are kind of like the latest updates of Apple, which are people already had their own problems on that update or something slowing their phones down. Or I don't know. There's different complaints I heard. So what's interesting though, that I do think Apple, like I'll give them some credit on, I guess, their new strategy here that they kind of have to employ. First of all, they're clawing it back. They're going to try to fix it. Second of all, this is what they're actually doing to fix the problem, because like AI is notorious for hallucinating. But one thing that I'm kind of brought to mind is the fact that other companies are successfully doing this right now and haven't really had any of these same issues, or at least they're not going viral in the same way. So I'll bring those up, but I'll just tell you first what Apple's doing. So they're pulling the summaries. The all of the notification summaries are now going to be shown in italics. So this is just essentially makes it easier for us to actually tell which ones are like regular
Okay.
notifications and which ones are AI summaries. I think this is very helpful, to say the
Mm-hmm.
least. And
For sure.
Apple does have like a little icon next to the news summaries that they have if it's AI, but it obviously isn't. It's not like clear enough, and so I think that this is a good move, is making the font literally different, showing these things as different. I think at the end of the day, like users really want this, and Google did a great job with their AI summaries. If you do like a Google search, and they're like, hey, look, this is our AI summary, and it's like in a different box, it's a different font, it's got a different shading in the background. This is key, I think, for these companies, is like differentiate what is AI generated and what is human generated. I don't think people want to feel tricked when something is AI generated and you're like, oh, see, look, like we didn't even use a human for that. It was just AI. Like we want to know what's AI generated. We know there's hallucination risks. There's other risks on quality. And for the most part, I'm happy to like take those risks for whatever small percentage has issues, in order to get like better summaries. So yeah, with like Google, for example, I'm thrilled. The other place that I think about this often is if you're going over to X. On X, if you go and click on any in particular like news story that's trending, there's a whole summary about it at the top. Now, the only major difference is perhaps this kind of like Grok news summary that's at the top. This thing's like 5 sentences long. Maybe it's easier for AI to get a story straight with 5 sentences, and if it's trying to just put a whole news story into like 3 words, then it messes it up. I'm not sure. To be honest, I think that's probably an understanding problem. So I think that it probably shouldn't do that. So we are seeing other people though do these news summaries. Perplexity is doing a great
Yep.
job. Grok is
Yep.
doing a great job. I think Apple can crack it. I'm curious what AI model or like what they were using that went so wrong. Like evidently this probably isn't an API into Google, into OpenAI. So I'd be curious if it's like some sort of local AI model that's just slow and small and
Wait a
just
minute,
not
wait a
very
minute, wait a
accurate.
minute. That's actually a really good question. I hadn't thought of that. What? That's so funny. I had assumed that it was ChatGPT because Apple has a partnership with ChatGPT through Siri. But if it's not, Jaden, do we? Sorry, I'm just maybe I'm blanking. Does Apple have its own LLM that we don't really know about, or maybe that everybody knows about, but I'm forgetting about right now?
They Apple always says they have like their own in-house stuff, and even Apple Intelligence
Sure.
technically is like a lot of their own in-house intelligence, and if they can't figure it out, they send it out to ChatGPT. For something like the news summaries, and I could be completely wrong here, but for something like the summaries, when they're going to be like essentially querying an AI like repeatedly for something that would seem so small, it wouldn't shock me if they had a small local open
Yeah,
source,
like a
maybe,
like
I
a
don't know,
local
but
thing.
maybe they made it
But so and
themselves.
so, Jaden,
Yeah,
am I understanding correctly? When they read, so all this has to do in theory is grab the article, read the article, and sorry if I missed this, but like with let's say it's sort of like summarizing a BBC story or something. One of the things that drives me nuts about Apple News is that sometimes it's linking to subscriptions that I just don't have, right? And I
yeah,
have a
yeah,
lot of subscriptions. So if it's grabbing that, then you're right, sort of like a tiny little almost like summarization or rag or whatever. You're just
yep,
grabbing that, summarizing it. That should be unbelievably easy. I'm shocked, unless it's just sheer volume. Like it's kind of weird out of the box. Is in the same way that if everybody sort of started flagging and posting their hallucinations on ChatGPT, nobody would use ChatGPT, right? I mean, like,
yep.
so do you think it's just a law of large numbers thing, or do you think there's really a problem with? I know we're running against time, but I'm just kind of curious as your thought on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at the end of the day, so many people are going to be using this tool and they're just trying to save money. So
Yeah,
however they're doing that, like let's be honest, if this is Chat GPT 4.0, it's not going to be making this mistake. And so one way or another, Apple's trying to save money. Either they have their own local model, or they're trying to use like an older Chat GPT, maybe like GPT-3, or like it's not like the most cutting edge, whatever it is, because the most cutting edge stuff like our O1 models and our 4.0s, like they don't really make this kind of mistake, right? So that would be my assumption on it. They're going to try to fix it. They're going to make it italicized. Maybe they're going to up it up to a better AI model so that they're not running into this kind of situation. But it is a serious thing to think about if millions, tens of millions of people every single day with dozens of notifications, all of that has to be running through AI. Like that is an
right,
additional incurred
right.
cost by Apple. Like they are paying
Huge,
for that. It's not free.
huge. It's such a good point. It's such a good point. It's Listen, folks, this is AI applied. So how does this apply to us? We always kind of want to be thinking about that. In this case, I really think it's you know it's you're probably not going to run into this problem, especially if they're taking it down. But you always have to be careful, especially when Google does these AI overviews or whatever they're called. Don't just trust those things at their word. When you need something to be precise and accurate, go and check it at the source. If you're just checking the news, it's not really the end of the world. Jaden, I'm with you. I love the italics. I think super simple solutions like that, where people know if they're reading AI or not, is huge. Apple will fix this. I just hope it doesn't hurt their reputation in the longer run. Sort of like the glue on pizza kind of thing with, I guess that was Google or the or Apple Maps was driving people into lakes. Listen, folks, listen, I know you're out there. I know you have not left a review. I see you. I'm literally spying on you right now. I'm waiting to see if you're going to leave a rating and review. Come on, today's the day. Guys, it would be so, so much to us. I know you hear it every time. But if you would, it would be absolutely amazing. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope you have an amazing rest of your day.